Is Jesus self-sufficient?
I don't know how to answer it.
You do. He's not. Because Jesus, the second member of the Trinity, is totally dependent on the Father, begetting him. Without the Father, he would not even exist. Because the Father begets Jesus. So the very existence of the Son is dependent on the Father. If you are dependent, you are not self-sufficient. But how do you explain this text?
Because it's the way they communicated in that day.
So you are saying human beings wrote it, a misapproximation of what God is in his reality.
No, there's metaphors, there's ways of interpreting things. So
But
I don't.
how is that? How is that a metaphor? How is that a metaphor? Whenever God says, "Look, when I see the rainbow, I will remember."
Yeah.
The verse is very explicit, black and white. It's not human beings.
What's your overall point? So you're trying to say that we can't trust the Old Testament scriptures?
My point is, whenever we want to know about God, we need to have a basis of our belief grounded on solid foundation. If a book like this, which describes God in your understanding inappropriately, because it talks about God needs reminding by a rainbow, but God is not forgetful, then you'd be questioning this kind of book that describes God. Are we going to get the concept of God from such a book?
Yes, we are. And much more so than the Quran, which I don't believe is from God. I don't believe...
Remember I said I'll give you 3 examples? Do you know why we speak different languages? Why we speak English now rather than...
You won't persuade me because I don't believe...
No, it's not persuasion. It's about learning from each other.
What?
It's about learning from each other. It's about learning from each other, right? So the reason why
Mohammed did. Old news. I think when he did. Sorry.
So do you think it's funny?
I only heard what you're saying. I'm talking to this guy and I'm laughing.
No, okay, fine.
Anyway, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, I know. I know.
You like this kind of talk, right?
I do know what Mohammed did. Yeah, I'm aware of the hadiths.
I'll chat to you anytime, sunshine.
I'm aware of Bukhari. I'm aware of the Quran, and there's no way that.
What do you know about God in the Quran? What's his concept?
You can talk to somebody else. I'm not really interested. Sorry.
Why suddenly you lose interest? When you were quite happy discussing about this earlier on. Now when you realize...
No, I don't realise anything. I'm not persuaded that Muhammad is a prophet.
I haven't made any persuasion yet. We were just learning from each other.
Yeah.
I can learn from you.
The guy put her off, man.
So, no, it's not guy. They have the same crowd, same community. Whenever Muslims are having a discussion, they don't like people to listen to reasoning.
Oh no.
You know a Muslim, right? So may I ask you why you know a Muslim?
I believe Christ is the way, the truth, and the life.
Do you not consider Christ was a good Muslim? So what was he?
He was the Son of God. Like he
Okay. Do you know what a Muslim is? What do we mean by Muslim?
Someone who submits to God.
Did Christ submit to God?
Not in the way you perceive it.
In which way did he not submit to God?
I do not answer your question. Because it's not the same perception.
The question is, did Jesus, did he submit to God in any way, shape or form? Brother, why are you doing things? Did Christ in any way, shape or form submit and surrender to God and God's will?
He was exiled.
Essentially,
I know.
Did he submit his will to God's will?
that's half the answer. Yes, but also he had authority over that will as well.
Submission is always of a lower category.
But he also had authority of that will.
So he could have not submitted, right? But he chose to. So he willingly submitted. That's what we say Muslim is. Someone who willingly submits their will to God. So he was a good Muslim according to your...
we believe that he was the Son of God, the second person of the triune God.
When you say Son of God, what do you mean by the word Son?
Son, the Son is simply a relationship. He was the Word of God made flesh.
Can we call him daughter of God?
What's your aim with this?
No, because you are formulating a belief about God and Jesus, and you say he's the Son of God, so we need to know what it means.
What would you like me to believe about Jesus?
He is a prophet of God, a messenger of God.
Why don't you believe he's the Son of God? Or let's say God incarnated?
Because God has no sons or daughters or fathers or mothers, and he doesn't incarnate because he's self-sufficient.
Well, as a spirit, of course, but if you want to incarnate,
why should God incarnate? Isn't that something like a deficiency and limitation? Does God need to incarnate into an elephant to teach the elephants how to live their life?
I mean, how would you do it?
God inspires even the bee, as says in the Quran. God inspires the bee how to go and collect the honey and so on and so forth, right? God inspires through prophets and messengers how human beings to live our life. So God doesn't need to become a tree to let other trees to know how to live their life.
Who are you to constrain God?
I'm not constraining.
And why are you telling me what God cannot be?
Can God be not God?
Of course not.
Then who are you telling me that God cannot be?
You just said God cannot do something.
No, you.
Not me.
Okay, no. Okay. Can God cease to exist?
God is existence.
Answer my question. Can he cease to exist? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know, I don't care. I've given you 4 or 5 options. Which one? Can God, in your conception of God, can he cease to exist so that he's no more? No, I agree. So there are certain things we can say about God that God would not do because it goes against his nature. God's nature is his eternal and everlasting. It makes no sense to cease to exist.
But if your conception of existence is wrong, then your whole argument is wrong.
Sure. In your conception, is God unknowledgeable? Can he become ignorant? No. Because he's unknowledgeable, meaning he knows
that Jesus is ignorant?
Please. Do you accept in your conception of God that God is all-wise and all-knowledgeable?
But all these definitions of God are based on your perception of what all these things mean.
No.
How can you have to convince me you are trustworthy?
May I clarify one thing? If we are going to believe about God, we need to know who God is and what is his character.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you, in your understanding of what you have taken to be God, is this God limited in knowledge, or he knows the past, the present, and the future?
What's your definition of the future?
Something that we haven't seen yet, something to come.
Is it predetermined? Is it predetermined?
For me, no.
It's not. So we have no free will.
I am not discussing free will, I'm talking about God.
Yes, you are.
So in your conception of God, is God someone who knows everything?
My argument is that your conception of the future could be wrong. Because if you believe in free will...
So you don't talk about God, you want to move into a different trajectory.
I asked you what you mean by the future.
I am talking
I'll tell you what I mean about the future.
Yeah.
The future is a set of possibilities. And God knows all of the possibilities.
Has future happened yesterday?
Answer my question. Do you agree with my
I
perception?
disagree with your definition, so I'm asking you now. Has future happened yesterday?
Let's get aligned.
You know what I mean by future, and so do I.
Has the future happened yesterday? Do you just want to be right? Has the future happened yesterday?
To us, future is linked with the hour of time.
Yes.
So we are living what we call an hour of time. The moment we speak, the present becomes the past, and we are traversing, going towards the future. The future is becoming present, present is becoming the past.
Is the future predetermined, or is it a set of
That is not my question. My question is is God knowledgeable of all times?
Yes.
Good. Can he become ignorant later?
No.
Good. So there are many things God would not do because it goes against his very nature. He's unknowledgeable. So what happened in the incarnation? Did God know everything, or did he limit his knowledge?
He knew. He knew everything.
Of that day and of that hour knows no one, not even the angels. Do the angels know the hour?
But the hour is based on our reaction to him.
A simple question. Of that day and hour, do the angels know the hour?
Based on our free will, the hour could come either now or later.
Do the angels know the hour?
I just answered your question.
So what is the answer? Do they know or do they not know?
The hour is a range. It could be at this time or another time based on our free will.
Do the angels know when?
I just answered the question.
Okay, can someone help me? What was the answer? Do the angels know when it's going to happen? Be, open in our discussion. According to the text that I'm now citing, paraphrasing, no one knows, the angels don't know. Not even the Son. So consistently, no one seems to know when it's going to happen. The Son here is your Son of God. So he doesn't know.
What do you think is meant by that?
Clearly, the only one who knows is God. Not the Son, not the angels. So that means, in another understanding, none of them can be God, because only God is all knowledgeable. That's the concept we are having. God is all knowledgeable. You cannot have deficiency and limitations to knowledge in God, and we establish Jesus is not all knowledgeable, so he cannot be God.
If the future is defined as a set of possibilities, then the hour is a range of hours. So naturally, the hour is not fixed, but a range.
How does that make Jesus in any way, shape or form God, possessor of all knowledge?
It just makes what he said correct.
Is Jesus self-sufficient?
I don't know how to answer you.
You do. He's not. Because Jesus, the second member of the Trinity, is totally dependent on the Father begetting him. Without the Father, he would not even exist, because the Father begets Jesus. So the very existence of the Son is dependent on the Father. If you are dependent, you are not self-sufficient.
You're basically
any being
that God doesn't want to or would not incarnate.
No, I'm saying any being to be labeled as God has to be self-sufficient, sufficient by themselves, by himself.
Why do you think Christians believe God incarnated?
Christians have erred, and they have made themselves following a trajectory of error and mistakes.
Prove it.
I've just told you, they believe, the Trinitarian ones, which that includes yourself, that God is a three-personal one being. That's where the error is. God is not three persons. God is God, doesn't have a son or a father.
So it's an error based on what?
People's misunderstanding about the concept of God.
Who told you it's a misunderstanding?
God has explained throughout the centuries, every single prophet that came talked about there is only one God and you shall have no other God besides him. If we go to the Jewish scripture before Christianity came, God even told Isaiah, I'm paraphrasing, I am God. Before me there was no God form. After me there will be no God form. I alone am God and there is none else. Who is this I and me within the Trinity? Who exclusively claims to be God and says there's none else. It cannot be all the three, because the word is used as I and me. It's not we. Does that make sense?
1 second, I have to go. I have to go actually.
That's fine. Think about it, my friend. Think about it.
Yeah, bro.
And read the Quran. You will explain further, inshallah.